Success in life is not determined only by how intelligent you are, how talented you are, or how many opportunities you receive. Success is often determined by something much simpler, yet much more difficult to master. It is determined by how well you control your reactions. Everyday life will test you. Someone will say something you don't like. Someone will criticize you. Someone will misunderstand you. And in those moments, you are given a choice. You can react emotionally, or you can respond with control. Most people react. They react with anger, frustration, or defensiveness. And when they react, they give away their power. Because the moment another person can control your emotions, they begin to control your life. But the strongest individuals understand a powerful principle. Not everything deserves a reaction. Think about it. If every little comment, every small inconvenience, every bit of negativity causes you to react, then your peace will always depend on other people. That's a very fragile way to live. Emotionally intelligent people live differently. They pause, they observe, they think. They realize that reacting instantly is easy, but responding wisely requires discipline. When someone criticizes you unfairly, the natural instinct is to fight back. The ego wants to defend itself. But wisdom asks a different question: is this reaction going to improve my life? Sometimes the best response is silence. Silence is powerful because it shows control. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, anyone can lose their temper. But it takes strength to stay calm when others expect you to explode. And when you remain calm, something interesting happens. You begin to see the situation more clearly. Anger clouds judgment. Emotion distorts reality. But calmness gives you perspective. You start realizing that many things people say have more to do with them than they do with you. Their frustration, their stress, their insecurity, sometimes it spills out onto others. You react to every emotional outburst around you. You will spend your entire life fighting battles that were never meant for you. Wise individuals choose their battles carefully. They understand that their energy is valuable, and they refuse to waste it on unnecessary conflict. Imagine the level of peace you would experience if you stopped reacting to every negative comment. Imagine the freedom of not allowing someone else's bad mood to ruin your entire day. That is real power, because emotional control is one of the greatest forms of personal leadership. Leaders of their own lives understand something important. Circumstances do not control them. They control their response to circumstances. Life will not always be fair. People will not always treat you the way you deserve. Situations will not always unfold the way you planned. But your response, that is always your choice. And that choice shapes your future. People who master their emotions build stronger relationships because they don't escalate unnecessary conflict. They build stronger careers because they make decisions from clarity rather than frustration. They build stronger character because they practice patience in moments when impatience would be easier. Think of emotional control like a muscle. The first time you try not to react, it feels difficult. Your instincts push you to respond immediately. But the more you practice pausing, breathing, and thinking before speaking, the stronger that muscle becomes. Eventually, calmness becomes your natural response. And when people around you lose their temper, when chaos surrounds you, when pressure rises, you become the calm person in the room. And calm people are powerful people. Because while others are reacting emotionally, you are thinking strategically. While others are arguing loudly, you are observing quietly. While others are losing control, you're gaining influence. Remember this principle: the person who controls their emotions controls their life. Not reacting doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are disciplined. It means you refuse to let temporary emotions create permanent damage. It means you are mature enough to recognize that peace is more valuable than proving a point. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is no statement at all. Sometimes the greatest victory is simply walking away. And sometimes the most powerful reaction is choosing not to react. So the next time life tests your patience, pause for a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself, will reacting improve this situation, or will it make it worse? Because every moment of self-control is a step toward personal mastery. And the people who master themselves eventually master their destiny. Control your emotions, and you begin to control your life. And that, my friend, is the true power of not reacting. Every person experiences emotions every day. Feelings such as anger, frustration, disappointment, excitement, and joy are natural parts of being human. However, the real difference between people who struggle with their emotions and those who master them lies in one powerful ability: awareness. Emotional awareness is the ability to recognize what you are feeling in the moment and understand why that feeling is happening. It is the first and most important step toward gaining control over your reactions and creating a calmer, more purposeful life. Most people react to situations without thinking. Someone says something upsetting. Immediately anger rises. A small mistake happens and frustration takes over. A criticism appears and defensiveness quickly follows. These reactions happen so quickly that many people do not even notice the emotion before it controls their words and actions. This is where emotional awareness becomes incredibly important. When you develop the habit of noticing your emotions as they begin, you create a small space between what happens to you and how you respond to it. That small space is where wisdom lives. In that moment of awareness, you begin to observe your emotions instead of being controlled by them. You might notice your heart beating faster, your thoughts becoming negative, or your voice wanting to rise in anger. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause and recognize what is happening inside you. This simple act of awareness allows you to slow down and think clearly before speaking or acting. Education about emotions helps us understand that feelings themselves are not the problem. Anger, disappointment, or stress are not enemies. They are signals. They are messages telling you that something around you or within you requires attention. When you become aware of these signals, you gain the opportunity to handle them wisely. Instead of allowing anger to explode into harsh words, you can choose patience. Instead of letting frustration lead to poor decisions, you can choose calm reflection. This awareness also helps you understand the deeper reasons behind your reactions. Sometimes what seems like anger is actually hurt. Sometimes frustration comes from stress or exhaustion. When you take a moment to understand the true source of your feelings, you begin to respond with maturity instead of impulse. This level of understanding creates emotional intelligence, a skill that improves every area of life. People who practice emotional awareness tend to communicate better with others because they think before they speak. They avoid unnecessary conflicts because they do not react instantly. They also build stronger relationships because others feel respected and understood around them. Over time, this ability builds trust, confidence, and inner stability. Developing emotional awareness takes practice. It requires paying attention to your thoughts, your feelings, and your reactions during everyday situations. But each time you pause and recognize your emotions before reacting, you strengthen your self-control. Slowly, what once felt difficult becomes natural. Instead of being driven by emotion, you begin to guide your actions with understanding and purpose. In the end, awareness gives you something incredibly valuable: choice. Instead of letting emotions control your life, you learn to guide them. And when you can guide your emotions, you begin to guide your future with clarity, strength, and wisdom. In life, many people believe strength is shown through loud reactions, quick responses, and powerful displays of emotion. Insults them, they respond immediately. When something goes wrong, they react with frustration or anger. Society often mistakes this kind of behavior for confidence or courage. However, true strength is not found in reacting quickly. True strength is found in the ability to remain calm and disciplined when emotions are pushing you to react. Self-control is one of the most powerful qualities a person can develop. It is the ability to manage your thoughts, emotions, and actions even when situations become difficult. Anyone can react when things go wrong. Anyone can raise their voice when they feel offended. But it takes a strong and mature mind to stay calm, think clearly, and choose a response that protects your peace and dignity. When you practice self-control, you give yourself the power to make better decisions. Emotional reactions often lead to regret. Words spoken in anger cannot easily be taken back. Decisions made in frustration often create bigger problems later. But when you pause and control your emotions, you give your mind time to think logically. Instead of reacting to the moment, you respond with wisdom and purpose. This ability becomes especially valuable in challenging situations. Life will always present moments of pressure. People may misunderstand you, criticize you, or act unfairly toward you. If you react emotionally every time something negative happens, you will constantly feel drained and overwhelmed. But when you develop self-control, create stability within yourself. Even when the environment around you becomes chaotic, your mind remains steady. Self-control also earns respect from others. People notice when someone remains calm in difficult moments. When others lose their temper but you remain composed, it shows maturity and confidence. It demonstrates that you are not easily influenced by negativity or emotional pressure. Over time, people begin to trust your judgment and value your presence because they know you bring calmness rather than conflict. Another important benefit of self-control is the protection of your inner peace. When you react to every problem or every negative comment, you allow external situations to control your emotional state. Your mood rises and falls depending on what others say or do. But when you develop emotional discipline, you take back that control. Your peace no longer depends on circumstances, it depends on your mindset. Building self-control is not something that happens overnight. It requires practice and patience. It starts with small moments. Choosing to stay calm during a disagreement. Choosing to listen instead of interrupting. Choosing to think before speaking. Each time you practice this discipline, you strengthen your emotional resilience. Over time, self-control becomes a natural part of your character. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. Instead of being controlled by emotions, you become the one guiding them. And when you reach that level of discipline, you discover something powerful. The person who controls their emotions ultimately controls the direction of their life. One of the most powerful habits a person can develop in life is the ability to pause before responding. In many situations, emotions rise quickly. A critical comment, an unexpected problem, or a misunderstanding can immediately trigger feelings of anger, frustration, or defensiveness. When this happens, the natural instinct is to react right away. However, reacting instantly often leads to words and actions that are driven by emotion rather than wisdom. This is why learning to pause and reflect is such an important skill. The pause may only last a few seconds, but its impact can be life-changing. In those few moments, you create a small gap between the event that happened and the response you choose to give. Within that gap, your mind has the opportunity to shift from emotional reaction to logical thinking. Instead of allowing your feelings to control your behavior, you give yourself the chance to think clearly and respond with intention. Reflection plays a major role in this process. When you pause, you begin to examine the situation more carefully. You may ask yourself simple but powerful questions. Is this situation really worth reacting to? Will my response improve the situation or make it worse? What outcome do I truly want from this moment? These questions allow you to move from impulse to understanding. Many conflicts in life occur because people react too quickly without taking the time to think. Words spoken in anger often escalate small disagreements into larger problems. A simple misunderstanding can turn into a major argument when both sides respond emotionally without reflection. But when one person chooses to pause and respond calmly, the entire situation can change. Calmness often diffuses tension and prevents unnecessary conflict. This habit of pausing also improves communication with others. When you reflect before speaking, your words become more thoughtful and respectful. Instead of reacting defensively, you are able to listen more carefully and understand the other person's perspective. This creates stronger and healthier relationships because people feel heard rather than attacked. Another important benefit of reflection is personal growth. Every challenging situation becomes an opportunity to learn something about yourself. When you pause and think, you begin to understand your emotional patterns. You notice what triggers frustration, what causes stress, and what situations test your patience. This awareness helps you improve your ability to manage similar situations in the future. Developing the habit of pausing may feel difficult at first. Many people are used to reacting immediately without thinking. But with practice, it becomes easier. A deep breath, a moment of silence, or simply stepping back from the situation can give your mind the time it needs to regain clarity. Over time, this small habit begins to shape your character and strengthen your emotional intelligence. When you consistently pause and reflect, you begin to respond to life with greater wisdom. Problems become easier to handle, conversations become more productive, and your emotional balance becomes stronger. Instead of reacting with regret, you respond with purpose. And that simple moment of pause becomes one of the most powerful tools you have for building a calm, thoughtful, and successful life. Personal growth is not only about gaining knowledge or achieving success in external areas of life. True growth happens when a person develops inner strength, discipline, and emotional maturity. One of the most powerful ways to achieve this growth is by learning to control emotions and practicing emotional discipline in everyday situations. When a person chooses patience over anger and calm thinking over impulsive reactions, they begin to shape a stronger, wiser version of themselves. Every challenge in life provides an opportunity to practice this discipline. Difficult conversations, unexpected setbacks, criticism, and stressful situations are not just obstacles, they are moments that test and strengthen character. When someone reacts emotionally to these situations, the problem often becomes larger and more complicated. However, when a person responds with patience and thoughtful action, they transform the situation into a learning experience. Each time emotional control is practiced, it becomes easier to maintain balance in the future. Patience is one of the most important qualities developed through emotional discipline. In a world that moves quickly and often encourages immediate responses, patience allows a person to slow down and approach situations with clarity. Instead of rushing to judgment or reacting in frustration, patient individuals observe, think, and choose their actions carefully. This approach not only prevents unnecessary mistakes, but also helps build confidence and stability in decision-making. Emotional discipline also builds resilience. Life will always contain moments of difficulty, disappointment, and uncertainty. Without emotional control, these moments can easily lead to stress, negativity, and discouragement. But when a person learns to manage their emotions effectively, they become more capable of handling challenges with strength and determination. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by problems, they focus on solutions and continue moving forward. Over time, this discipline shapes a person's character in meaningful ways. People who practice emotional control develop greater maturity and wisdom. They become individuals who can handle pressure calmly and guide others during difficult moments. These qualities naturally strengthen leadership abilities. Whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or community settings, emotionally disciplined individuals inspire trust, respect because they bring stability and thoughtful decision-making. Another important benefit of emotional discipline is the creation of balance in life. When emotions are managed properly, it becomes easier to maintain focus, build healthy relationships, and pursue long-term goals. Instead of allowing temporary feelings to influence important decisions, individuals act according to their values and purpose. This leads to more consistent progress and a greater sense of fulfillment. Personal growth is a lifelong journey, and emotional discipline plays a central role in that journey. Each time a person chooses calmness over anger, understanding over judgment, and patience over impulsiveness, they take another step toward becoming stronger and more capable. These small decisions, repeated over time, create lasting change. In the end, mastering emotions does more than simply prevent conflict or reduce stress. It transforms the way a person approaches life itself. With patience, resilience, and maturity guiding their actions, they develop the inner strength needed to face challenges confidently and build a balanced, meaningful, and successful life. In the end, the ability to control your emotions is one of the greatest skills a person can develop. Life will always bring challenges, misunderstandings, and moments of pressure, but how you respond to those moments determines the quality of your life. Emotional awareness helps you recognize what you feel. Self-control gives you the strength to manage those feelings, and the habit of pausing allows you to respond with wisdom instead of impulse. When these qualities are practiced consistently, they begin to shape your character in powerful ways. You become more patient, more resilient, and more thoughtful in your decisions. Instead of allowing temporary emotions to guide your actions, you learn to act with purpose and clarity. This not only protects your inner peace, but also improves your relationships, strengthens your confidence, and helps you handle challenges with maturity. True personal growth comes from mastering yourself. When you develop emotional discipline, you gain the ability to stay calm in difficult situations, make wiser choices, and move forward with greater focus. Over time, this inner strength becomes the foundation of a balanced and successful life. By choosing awareness, patience, and thoughtful responses, you take control of your emotions, and ultimately, you take control of your future.